She didn't feel excited to reach out anymore. Not sad. Not angry. Just tired. Tired in a way sleep couldn't fix. The kind of tired that settles in your chest. The kind that comes from caring alone for too long. From holding connections together with one hand, while the other slowly goes numb. She realized she was always adjusting herself to fit others. Shrinking her needs. Softening her expectations. Explaining absences she didn't create. And in doing so, she was slowly disappearing from her own life. Her kindness had turned into quiet self-neglect. And no one had asked her to stop. That realization didn't arrive loudly. There was no argument. No final message. No dramatic goodbye. Just a calm awareness. A gentle understanding that effort without return becomes self-betrayal. That love without presence feels hollow. That constantly trying was costing her something important. So she stopped. Not suddenly. Not to make a point. Not to punish anyone. She didn't announce it. She didn't explain herself. She simply paused. She waited to see. Who would notice the silence she used to fill? Who would reach for her? The way she had reached for them. Days passed. Then weeks. Very few noticed. Some never did. And strangely, that truth hurt less than she expected. Because it confirmed what her heart already knew. She wasn't walking away from people. She was walking back to herself. Amelia understood then. That staying quiet was not weakness. It was self-protection. She wasn't being cold. She wasn't being dramatic. She wasn't giving up. She was choosing peace over explanation. Choosing rest over proving her value. And for the first time, she didn't feel guilty about it. She felt clear. She learned that effort should not feel like begging. That care should not feel invisible. That being kind does not mean being endlessly available. Her worth did not depend on how much she gave. It existed even when she stopped trying. Even when she stepped back. There were still lonely moments. Still nights when memories surfaced. When familiar names crossed her mind. When she wondered if stopping had made her distant. But she reminded herself that protecting her heart was not cruelty. It was honesty. She was tired of explaining her absence to people who never noticed her presence. Amelia didn't become distant. She became selective. She listened more closely to her feelings. She allowed silence without filling it. She learned to sit with herself. Without distraction. And slowly, the heaviness began to lift. Not because others changed. Not because apologies arrived. But because she did. She no longer waited for messages that never came. She no longer measured her value by response time. She stopped shrinking herself to stay included. Stopped chasing warmth where there was none. And in that space, she found something steady. A quiet respect for her own emotional limits. A sense of self she had neglected for too long. The world didn't suddenly improve. People didn't magically show up. But her relationship with herself softened. She felt less desperate to be chosen. Less afraid of being alone. Because she finally understood that trying endlessly was not love. It was fear of being forgotten. Now, when Amelia looks back, she doesn't feel regret. She feels understanding. She stayed as long as she could. She tried until trying hurt more than letting go. And stopping was not failure. It was acknowledgement. That effort should meet effort. That care should flow both ways. That love should not feel one-sided. She didn't leave loudly. She didn't close doors with anger. She simply stopped knocking. And in the quiet that followed, she found herself breathing easier. Not because everything was fixed, but because she finally stopped abandoning herself to keep others comfortable. If this story feels familiar, you're not broken. You're tired. Tired of caring without return. Tired of waiting without reassurance. Tired of being present where you are barely noticed. And maybe, like Amelia, you didn't leave either. Maybe you just stopped trying. Sometimes the hardest thing to explain is not why you left, but why you slowly stopped caring. Not because you wanted to disappear. Not because you were angry. Not because you stopped loving people. But because trying began to feel heavier than the silence that followed when you stopped. You remember the moment effort started to feel lonely. When reaching out felt like stretching your hand into empty space. When hope stopped feeling mutual and started feeling like something you carried alone. You didn't quit suddenly. You didn't wake up one day and decide to stop caring. It happened quietly. Gradually. Almost without permission. Her name was Amelia. Amelia was the kind of person who noticed small things. The shift in someone's tone when they said, "I'm fine." The pause before a reply that used to come instantly. The way conversations slowly lost warmth. She remembered birthdays without reminders. She remembered stories people forgot they had shared. She remembered details that no one thought were important. And for a long time, she believed that caring deeply was enough to hold people close. Amelia was always present. Emotionally available, even when she was exhausted. She showed up with kindness when she had little left for herself. She listened carefully, even when nobody asked how she was doing. She replied quickly. Checked in gently. Waited patiently. She believed relationships grew through consistency. Through effort that stayed. Even when days were quiet. And moments felt ordinary. She believed that if she stayed soft. If she stayed loyal. If she stayed kind. People would stay too. But slowly, something changed. Replies didn't stop. They just arrived later. Conversations didn't end. They just felt thinner. Plans weren't cancelled. They were postponed without explanation. And Amelia began to notice something painful. She was always the one reaching out. Always the one starting conversations. Always the one holding things together. Every time she hesitated, silence answered her first. She told herself she was imagining it. That people were busy. That life got complicated. That she was overthinking, like she always did. So she tried harder. She adjusted her expectations. Lowered her needs. She convinced herself that being understanding meant accepting less. Even when it quietly hurt. At night, Amelia replayed conversations in her head. She read messages again and again. Searching for mistakes that might explain the distance. Did I say too much? Did I sound cold? Did I reply too fast? Did I care too openly? She questioned her timing. Her tone. Her value. She wondered why being available made her feel invisible. Why showing care slowly turned into feeling like an option. She never complained out loud. She smiled when replies came days later. She pretended not to notice when plans quietly disappeared. She told herself that asking for effort felt selfish. That wanting to matter was asking for too much. That real care shouldn't need to be requested. So she stayed quiet. And she kept trying anyway. Trying became automatic. Good morning messages. Gentle check-ins. Remembering things nobody remembered about her. She gave pieces of herself without keeping count. She offered emotional space without asking for any in return. And somehow, the more she gave, the less she felt seen. As if her presence blended into the background of everyone's life. There were moments she felt close to speaking up. Moments when the ache reached her throat. Moments when silence felt unbearable. But fear stopped her. Fear of sounding needy. Fear of being too much. Fear of pushing people away. Fear of hearing what she already felt. That she mattered less than she hoped. The quiet hurt more than rejection would have. Rejection has clarity. It has an ending. Silence leaves room for hope. And hope kept her waiting. Waiting for replies. Waiting for effort. Waiting for someone to notice. She was slipping away emotionally. But no one ever did. One day, Amelia noticed something different.